Brett Pontecorvo here at livekeyboardist.com, and today we are going to talk about my live rig. This is the one that I use every single time I perform live, and I'm going to share with you what I'm using and why I'm using them. Now, before we do that, make sure you take a second to like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of the latest happenings at livekeyboardist.com. I find when I'm choosing gear to purchase that there are really two things that are the most important to me, and that's, does it feel good to play or use, and does the software allow me to customize how it behaves? Because that's going to give me the ability to really make it my own, which is super important for this type of setup. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I released a video that talked about all of the most important components of a keyboard rig, which I will link above right now in case you're curious, in case you're building a rig. But today we're going to focus on mine. So let's start with the Arturia KeyLab 88. I love this instrument for a lot of reasons, but mostly it's really light, so it's easy to travel with. The keys feel fantastic to play, and the software allows me to really customize every parameter. So the pads, I can change what messages they're sending. I can change the velocity curve on the knobs to speed up or slow down how fast parameters change. And so it's something I've really fallen in love with, and for the foreseeable future, I'm going to stick with the KeyLab 88 as my controller for notes. Now, if you watch the other video, you know I also like to use a separate controller to control parameters. And for that, I like to use the Novation Launch Control XL. This controller is fantastic. First of all, it feels really nice to use. When you're turning knobs and you're turning faders, there's a lot of meat behind them, so it feels like you can really grab onto it and control it. You can play it like an instrument, and it is part of your instrument. So Launch Control XL, it's amazing. I love to use it. The other thing that's really nice about this is the software as well. Software is a major selling point for me. So I can actually go in and change, the same way I can with the KeyLab 88, every single parameter on the Launch Control XL. So I actually love to make it so that my controllers are only sending MIDI CCs, so that the only note data that's coming in to Ableton is the notes that I actually want to play, because I've had some issues in the past where I'll play A and then all of a sudden I've got a crazy delay going on. So the software allows me to do that. It also allows me to set up things where I can change the tempo, which means you have to be able to send different values. So all in all, this is a really customizable controller. It also has 8 different user modes, which is way more than I will ever use, but at least it's there. So you can have different modes for different types of setups if that's something that you're into. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is my audio interface. Now, the audio interface is the thing that takes the signal your computer makes and transforms it into data that can be played through a speaker. So I personally use the Focusrite Saffire Pro 24, and when I bought this, I bought it because it had decent preamps and I was doing a little bit of recording, but I've actually fallen in love with it for different reasons at this point. So the Focusrite has exceptional software. See, there's a theme here, software. If the software is good, it helps you really take control of it and make it your own. So you can loosely use this software as sort of a standalone mixer. It's really easy to change the routing. It's got 6 different outputs, so if I'm playing a lot of different types of sounds, I can send it to the soundboard through different channels, which I think is really important, especially depending on what the sound people that you're working with want. And this has also held up really well for me. I've had this as well for maybe 6 years, and I do travel with it a good bit, and it's totally stable, still works, all the features are good, so highly recommend the Focusrite Saffire Pro 24. So next thing I want to talk about are my speakers. So I actually use the Yamaha HS5s at home, and they're just okay. These aren't high-level speakers, but they do give me a decent idea of what it's going to sound like when I move from working at home to a performance space. They haven't let me down yet, and they weren't terribly expensive to buy, which at the time was really important for me. So these are decently priced, decent speakers. they're working. I don't take them with me when I perform, but I actually have been finding that I really haven't brought a speaker with me to perform in a long time. A lot of times I really am running straight into the soundboard, and I either have a wedge monitor or I'm using in-ears that I can either pull from the Focusrite itself, or if there's a sort of in-ear system set up, I use that. So these are the main staples of my live keyboard setup. Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what gear you use as long as you, A, know how to use it, and B, actually want to use it. Because if you want to use it, you're more likely to play it. But you don't need the best gear, you just need a good handle on it. So these are the things that I use. Let me know what you are using in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.